Okay, so the record button is pressed, and I just want to welcome everyone to Caroline's Corner. I am so looking forward to today. Myself and James, definitely we were always meant to meet up and chat, and it's taken us a while, but we're here now. So really looking forward to James. Welcome to Caroline's Corner. Really looking forward. You know what I love? If you create a space where people want to have a genuinely meaningful conversation, the content will come in and it'll move in the direction that it's meant to move in. And particularly if you have people who are going, let's just see where this conversation brings us. So are you up for that?
Yeah, indeed, Caroline.
Happy days. So again, welcome everyone to Caroline's Corner. And again, as I've said there with James, it's a place, it's an invitation. Everything in life is an invitation, a safe place for conversations to take place. And my intention is to facilitate them with people who want to talk about, because it's huge and you can't fucking manufacture meaning. It's about how do I genuinely live, or how do I have a meaningful conversation and to share it. We know research will tell you, I worked around mental health and suicide for years and years and years. And it's people's narrative, it's people's stories that touch our heart. And yes, we have theory and we've all the wonderful stuff, but it's actually the stories of other people that we connect to. So it's great to be here. This is, I feel very supported by Connor, my son, and Amy, my daughter, and my soulmate, John, who physically isn't here, but I feel his essence, I feel his energy, I feel his love, and I can hear him saying, keep going, Caroline, on the second days that I can. But anyway, I feel that all the time. And then I've lovely friends around me who have been great and who have encouraged me to just keep doing this. And you know, I was thinking there, James, a friend of mine, myself and Cleo were talking, and we actually we can send things forward to the generations. And it's like you, me, it's like even how people died or more than, or how when things happen in life or more than, and through podcasts and different things now, we can send through to the generations ahead and say, look, you're going to get some of the rough stuff and the tough stuff, but here's some of the learning, here's what we can send forward, and wish them well, which I think is really lovely, that it's not all about us. And it's not all about this generation. We pass the good stuff as well. And just to say in general, I'm working away as a therapist with Counselling Online. Love the guys there. And I've done some work with the Kidney Association, and also some employee assistance with Validium. I was a founder and a CEO of an organisation, so I've spent vast amount of years and time and energy, which was a blessing, around suicide, high-end acute suicide, and then around all areas of mental health, because every human being has their mental health and how we manage it. I tutored, which I absolutely loved, from youth, supported by Social Entrepreneur Ireland and Dennis O'Brien Foundations, which made so much possible. Worked with Amnesty, we took on the government, and we took on a few bits, which is interesting. And I've also worked around anxiety and acute and day-to-day anxiety. And presently I'm studying with the Academy of Logotherapy. I stalked Alex the way I stalked you as well, James. I got to him eventually. So anyway, I've the last few years, but I'm actually in the academy now. And that would be Viktor Frankl, who wrote Man's Search for Meaning. And I think it's sold millions of copies and translated over 50 languages. But any human being that can come out of a concentration camp and not hate, and still say to our last breath we can find meaning, is someone I want to hang out with. So with his team at the moment, learning. So that's where I'm at for now. I love the for now. And I guess, I don't know, was it 6 or 8 months ago now, James?
I'd say, yeah, maybe was it the start of this year that you reached out?
I did, and I was very struck. I went on to TikTok, and it was coming to your beautiful sister Michelle's anniversary, and you made a choice to talk out around things actually not to do around grief, or what not to say around grief, and I totally connected to you straight away, having lost somebody in life, and having again experienced, and I know it's as people say, they don't mean it or their discomfort, but I'd always say, well, then say nothing. So that was my initial. So then I started watching your TikToks, and my God, there is a brough, they're fabulous.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
oh my God, they're brilliant. So I had a little look, and then maybe you can help me out, because I was reading what you do, what at the
Yeah.
moment in your day to day, and I loved the wording. I really loved it, James. You improve people's health and quality of life through integrated approach, which I took to straight away, of injury management, lifestyle improvement, and patient empowerment. Very, very powerful words. That it comes from your own suffering, comes from unhealthy childhood and adolescence, and then multiple injuries, and then experiencing chronic illness. And again, it's a bit like what we were saying earlier about we learn from our own stories and others. So you started off as a certified athletic therapist, your master's in sports and exercise, and the medicine. You received an inaugural Moira O'Brien, did I get that right? First in your class in your degree in Trinity. Well done, you. No messing about there. And I thought just how you described it. So you've worked in multiple settings, and now you lecture. You're an assistant in DCU on the Athletic Therapy and Sports Science program. And your goal, your intention, is to continue helping individuals through the primary online platform, providing, and this is lovely, knowledge and resources required to reach your goals and improve your life. So I have to say, I can't wait for you to explain in more detail exactly what that is like on a day-to-day, but I really was taken by that integrated, empowering knowledge and information. So do you want to share with us what you do in a day-to-day?
Of course, yeah. So kind of that website that I actually wrote, that must be a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago now. So I'm actually not work. So I was working DCU part
Yeah.
time. That was only for 12 months. So I finished up there in September. So I'm working full time then, in person at the minute, seeing clients in Churchtown and Dublin. And that's a combination of, so again, like a lot of injury and rehab stuff for pain. So a lot of like general pain, like chronic pain, and then like just your typical injuries as well for just like general population, sporting population. And then personal training for kind of like special populations as well. So people like personal training for people with medical conditions or pre-postpartum, and people that have really bad gym anxiety and don't like going to a normal gym, and people who are extremely overweight, that kind of thing. So they're similar, but it's good variety in it as well. Probably need to use more brain function for the injury side of things, and more kind of scientific, whereas the personal training then as well, you need a good understanding of the person as a whole. Everybody's so different and unique. There's no kind of like cookie cutter approach. So no, it's good variety on a day-to-day basis. And you meet so many different people. And every single client I have is so different. Like I don't like have a niche as such. Um, so yeah, but like yeah, like as you were saying, like a big part of it as well is just connecting with the person and building relationships with them too. So like the majority of my clients are long-term clients, which I feel I get more meaning from than just having somebody for a couple of weeks and then saying your goodbyes.
Absolutely. And I think even, Ted, it was the words you used, which from even looking at your TikToks, that's the essence of who you are. Because when you're sharing or you're suggesting, it's very much from that meaningful way, and that sort of you're sharing and letting people choose what to take from it, which is very, very empowering. Because the piece there, your own suffering, it came from unhealthy childhood and adolescent, multiple injuries and chronic illness experiences. So what was it, if you were to share a little bit more around that, brought you into that decision to do this work?
Yeah, so I'd say like, I was a very, very confused teenager. I hadn't a clue what I wanted to do after secondary school, and I went into teaching. It's after first semester of college, dropped out. Just kind of questioned everything, didn't know like where I wanted to go. There's a few things I knew I was interested in, like biology was probably my best subject in school. I had so many injuries growing up throughout my teenage years, so I could never really get answers for them. Everyone I went to kind of gave me different answers. It was all kind of quick fixes, nothing long term. And I was always interested in the human body and health. And then, in terms of the chronic illness aspect, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis around 16,
What's
17.
that now?
Ulcerative colitis, so it's chronic autoimmune disease. It's a form of inflammatory bowel disease.
Okay.
So you might be familiar with Crohn's disease, but
Absolutely, yeah.
so Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, they're the two main forms of IBD, but it affects every aspect of your life, especially when you're going through a flare up. So from kind of 16 to 2021, like I still have it now, but it's under control. Whereas for that period of a few years was very bad. So that as well, probably all of those combined, probably decided what I went back to do then the following year in DCU. So I went to study athletic therapy and training. So again, a lot of like anatomy and understanding human body physiology and that kind of thing.
What was it, sorry for talking over you.
Yeah,
What
okay.
was it that was, you know, there was something, your destiny was pulling you forward, you know what I mean? It doesn't push, it pulls. So
Yeah.
because of your experience, is it that you weren't getting the non-jargon explanation or the support? What was it that kept pushing you into this area that you felt you weren't getting something?
Yeah, probably just to get a better understanding of my own body, but also to kind of work with people who are struggling with the same thing and trying to help them through to identify, have a better understanding of it myself.
Yeah, and you know the which I would feel from a lot of my training and then living the body whole score.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking when people come in, you work with them physically and psychologically as well. And I work as a therapist, and I absolutely, the evidence of life experiences, they get trapped in our body, you know, stagnated, that energy, and it can turn into so many illnesses. So when you're working individually with people around physical injury and all, then do you see that the mindset, the attitude, and the intention has a huge influence on recovery and healing?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Especially like I think you can tell by talking to someone initially where they're headed, like I'm obviously not a psychologist or anything, but where their head is at, like how difficult it's going to be for them throughout the rehab process, and especially people who suffer with chronic pain. There's always a lot of mental health related issues there too. Well, not always, but a lot of the time there's always a lot of mental health related issues there too. And they definitely, there's definitely a strong relationship between the two, I think.
How would you, because there's the two aspects there of taking someone where they're at and bearing witness to them, and then there is that opportunity to say, even in the most brutal and horrific suffering, there is an element of freedom, a freedom to look at, like, this is my fate, tragically, FATE, tragically, that this injury has happened, but there's some window of freedom to consider maybe the attitude, or consider how I might live my life with this suffering. So now, to be mindful, because someone tell you, piss off, like, look, don't even, you know, to be so mindful. And I agree, you know, at the time. And so how would you, within your one-to-one and individually with people, how would you manage that? And I know everybody's individual.
Yeah. Yeah, as I said, like it is extremely individual, and you have to be very careful, like depending on the person in front of you. I think it's very different depending on whether the injury is acute or whether it's chronic. So, like say if somebody had like a serious fall or a fracture or something like that, that's a lot easier to deal with psychologically, because you know that there's, even if you're an elite athlete and you tear your ACL, like that could mean a year out of play, but like at least you know there's just like a timeline in place. Whereas somebody comes in with chronic lower back pain and they've tried everything, they've had lower back pain for 10 years maybe, and there's not much research to show like what's the best way to manage that, and they've gotten different answers from everybody at all, like everybody they've gone to. So that can be a lot tougher, and
Yeah.
I think it's just trying to help them find ways to manage that within their daily life and help them find meaning day to day, and show them that they're not defined by their pain, that their body is still very capable and they can still do a lot of stuff despite being in pain. I think it's always better to have high function and being pain than have no function and being pain. So like at least you have a quality of life with the pain, whereas a lot of the time you can just rest and do nothing and the pain is there, it gets worse. So you're better off being able to do the things you want to do while in pain than the other way around.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Well, because we gotta go where the person's at, and you know they guide, but then also in a respectful way to make possible suggestions and considerations, but always know, as you said, the word you use is empower, that people drive their own narrative, their own journey, and yeah, whether it's physical or mental. And just a question on that, because I was looking at their TikToks, and I suppose there is some items and some topics you mentioned that I'd like to just say, how come that one?
Yeah.
The first though is that if it's okay to talk about Michelle, and maybe you can help me now. And that's where the first TikTok that I came across and then reached out to you, it was coming to your sister's anniversary. And you shared, if it's okay for you maybe to go into it, I guess, what not to say or what not to do. And you were very, very strong about it, because obviously you had experienced it. Just that was my sense of it. So would it be all right to bring Michelle into the conversation? I know she's here anyway, but to bring her into the conversation, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, 100%, Caroline. No problem at all.
Thank you.
And so go ahead. Yeah, I was just gonna say, well, that was January. Yeah, so her anniversary was 11th of January. So that must have been, I think it was the week after that you reached out to me.
Yeah.
I remember you just sent me a message on TikTok of that, and kind of looked into you, and I saw like your story, and John, you're kind of struck by someone's story and all the work you did around mental health and suicide. So like, this is somebody that I'll be interested in keeping in touch with. But yeah, so this is a brief background on Michelle. She was diagnosed with terminal cancer when she was 27, so a year older than I am now, and she was given a couple of weeks to live, but she ended up living for almost 2 years after those 2 weeks. So she surpassed all expectations that any of the experts and stuff thought that she would. So she had a serious amount of resilience and strength to keep going throughout all that, because she was in a lot of pain every day, physical and psychological, of course. But yeah, she passed away then on the 11th of January 2020, so just a few weeks before the whole COVID thing started. So it's over 4 years ago now. I don't know where the time has gone.
Yeah.
So it's flown, but like, if somebody said to me, I'd believe them that was a few weeks ago. Like, I still feel it's very fresh. At the time, like, so much has happened at the time, obviously. So, but yeah, I think it was just around, I think I was talking to you before this, just around anniversaries and birthdays, like, stuff comes up a lot more. So I did share video in question you're talking about. I shared a video about well, it's, I think it's not to say it's somebody who's grieving, because you're obviously familiar with yourself, like some outrageous things people might say after. And I know they don't mean any bad, and it's by it, but a lot of the time it comes from not having experienced those kind of situations yourself, and just having maybe low levels of emotional intelligence as well. Some of those kind of things that people say.
And tell me, and thank you so much. I listened to Michelle's voice for the first time. I didn't realize that you had had her message on TikTok, and I wouldn't mind in a little while reading one, if that's okay. I was very, very taken by it. And I guess when you were chatting some of the things that you'd said, I wrote down a few. And this isn't a judging, it's just we don't like that. That is the impermanence. It reminds us as human beings, nothing, change is inevitable and nothing is permanent, and it really, really doesn't sit with us. And it's like, that's even around death. David Kessler, I would have trained with there a couple of years ago, and he said he lost his son. He said, I want to be part of the tribe that talks about death differently. Because, oh, you're gone. Hold on now, you're gone. Nah, look at that.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there, and I'm not too sure. I just chat away because I can get Connor to edit, and there's no bother.
Perfect.
Yeah, as I say, if it's okay to read the piece that I was very, very touched by.
Of course, yeah.
Michelle, thank you. And then, yeah, like we were saying, it's some of the pieces that you'd said, and it's not a judgment on people, but it's saying, look, we actually have to try and have the ability to bear witness to death and grief and feel the discomfort without trying to fix someone because they're not broken, or without trying to comfort them, because you have to learn to self-soothe yourself. So it is an opportunity for someone to actually sit in the discomfort and go, I actually don't know what to say. And I know from working with people, 2 or 3 that you'd said, you know, they're in a better place now. It's like, please don't say that. And you know, it comes out naturally, and you're like,
Yeah.
fuck's sake, really, you know, and that's the bit. And then it happened for a reason. I don't know about you, but I'd be like, holy shit, you
My
know.
eyes rolling non-stop, trying not to say something. I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah, yeah. And I would have said something, so I had to move away because I thought that
yeah,
just keeps activating me. And then they wouldn't want you to be upset, you know. It's like, yeah. So, and I guess maybe just around grief and death, that, and like you said, 4 years is nothing, James. It's absolutely nothing. It's and anniversaries, and this is a question I was going to ask you. I my mum died 2 months ago, the 17th of July. So that's a different experience of death I've had to my husband's, where there was that brutal and that physical murder and the trauma. And my mum was 80 and she'd had Alzheimer's. And I grieved my mother in a very different energy, in a very different way, where I've only really experienced absolutely that sort of shaking. So what I've noticed, and it's 5 years, time just doesn't mean that to me now. It's here, it exists, it has a function. What I have noticed is that the physical impact of grief. So I've sort of for the last 4 weeks been shaken inside. I know that word of shaken inside. My anxiety heightens, and then the irrational thoughts. So there's all this bloody shit that starts taking place. And then and I was thinking, what do you work at? I would use Ayurveda. So I use a combination and integrated of meds. So I go on herbs to soothe my nervous system. Qigong, which is a movement, and that's a movement under the traditional Chinese medicine. So that's stagnation, a bit like when you're working with people, we're trying to move stuff. So I would do that, and I use particular meditation, transcendental meditation. So I still shake inside, and the world shakes, and I have to pull back. And the physical part, and then Don said it to me, I said to him, oh shit, I'm shaking inside again. So I'd say my mum's death and John's anniversary coming, bang, like that. And as he said, in a way, you have to shake it out. Your body has to shake it out. And I said, well, it's horrible. It's actually, it becomes more acute. So I'm learning to the best of my ability, but it does mean that when I'm going into different settings, everything's more difficult and I'm sort of on high alert. Would you have any of those experiences around grief physically and mentally?
yeah, no, 100%. I think, like as you said, around big occasions, like say my anniversaries or birthdays. Michelle has 2 kids as well, so like whenever, so I was saying to you that she left videos, so like on their birthdays every year, sending videos, so like that, like watching those and stuff brings it up. Like it's not even like my own grief. I feel like that's something I could manage, but seeing like my mom especially, like seeing like the worst thing, I think the worst thing that can ever happen is losing a child. So like I can
Absolutely.
imagine the pain of losing a child when they're in their 20s, their mind at a different age, but also when your child has children as well, and seeing the pain that the children have to go through. They were only 9 and 2 at the time it happened, so like they I won't speak about their experience, but obviously that's like unimaginable pain and grief that they're going to have to deal with and try to there's no way to understand like it didn't happen for any particular reason. Despite the people telling you that it happened for a reason, it most definitely didn't. In my opinion, anyway. Just thinking about them, and then that's like my sister and stuff as well. My other sister, she'd be similar age to Michelle, so like they would have been like best friends too. So like just seeing all the pain that they have to go through, thinking about that nearly affects me more than thinking about Michelle.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, like as you said, you have your ways of dealing with it. If I used to go like a few days without exercise as well, I feel like it would manifest a lot more. So like physical exercise tends to be my way of working out that kind of anxiety and tension. And then there are times where it manifests more in the weeks around those kind of occasions really.
Yeah.
Even like when Michelle's life, she would have always like brought me to my hospital appointments and stuff. So like even when I have to go, then like I think about that, or like around my graduations and stuff when she wasn't there, that kind of thing. But, like those occasions would bring it up a lot more.
And would your anxiety heighten, or that sort of feeling more vulnerable and exposed, and then the old thinking, would it just all sort of kick off and kick around? As you say, particularly, it's just your heart. I would feel I have a cement block, or maybe a house on top of my chest, and then I can't catch my breath. And if I can't catch my breath, the world starts to get a bit dizzy and light, and then I'm going, oh shit, am I going to hit the deck now? Could you relate to that, or just does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah, and I think there's like my physiology definitely changes around those kind of times as well. Like probably high anxiety, like where like fitness tracker, like my resting heart rate would be increased and stuff as well. So
Yeah.
I'd be a bit more restless. But even then, like obviously the work I do every day, I'm talking to people and asking them questions. Like I find it harder to maybe make conversation and listen, like properly listen to people as well, because I feel like I'm in my own head so much at that, like around those times too. So.
And I think even just that we're chatting about it, that just that people, it is so physical, and that's part of loss and grief, and not just someone physically leaving this earth. It is very physical, and that's the body element, and it's going to kick off different areas, and not to think, like I've often worked with people, they say, am I going mad? And I'd say, no, this is loss. This is feeling lost at a really deep level. And because it's terrible. I know even physically, and I'd be very aware, still don't like it, but it's how do you catch your breath? How do you, and like you said, maybe even pull back a little bit, especially when you're not catching people's conversations. And can I ask you, and thank you so much. And I was
But
just thinking, and thanks for sharing it. I can't even imagine what it must be like each year with the videos, as much as they're a blessing. The devastation that's her way, beautiful as it is, that she is communicating with her family. It's a blessing, but it's also very devastating. So I'm very
yeah,
mindful of that.
yeah, I think they are lovely to have, and they're especially for like obviously your younger child. Probably when you're two, you don't remember much from at that age, so having those reminders and being able to connect with her still. I'm not sure if you saw the voice clip that you were talking about. That's from a longer video
Yeah, I didn't see. No, I only
that was
realized.
posted on Facebook after she passed away. The 26-minute one, yeah, Michelle's message. So she did leave it like a longer form one for other people going through similar scenarios to her, terminal illness and stuff.
Ah, I will listen. I will. Yeah, because I
That kind
only
of that
caught
kind of
that
tells
piece.
the full story, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. How are we doing pace wise and all? And you okay with how we're going? And
Yeah, perfect, Karen, no problem at all.
brilliant. So I had a look at, I have the coffee. I'm not doing the water today.
Had a can of
I
Monster
had the
earlier,
coffee.
so my
Good
coffee.
man, good man. I was thinking there, we were saying how we cope around anniversaries and all. I also do the gin and the vape, and I absolutely love it. I'm a work in progress. A work in progress. I was, huh?
So trying to improve my relationship with alcohol as well. So that's
Absolutely. I'm doing reductionism as opposed to either either. It just it's not my I can't. I need to have
yeah,
the little fix for me.
yeah,
So I was looking, actually I was just going through some of the TikTok, and I have to say, James, they're excellent. I mean, I love your approach. I love your you say it as it is, but you're very kind. You're very kind, and you're very considerate. But no real bullshit as well. So it's really, I was watching last night, and there's a couple of things that stood out for me. And I guess when I was thinking of mental health, and you were saying about growing up in your teens, and you only came out at 23.
yeah, indeed.
So I'm thinking, because I did watch on TikTok the one
Yeah,
where yourself and drinking, and if you kept drinking, then you could close down the feelings, and then you could be out on the night, and like around your mental health, how or what was that like for you? And I know that's a very broad question, but Jesus, I have no words actually to have to live and hold something in like that.
yeah, I'll give you a bit of background. So as you said, eventually came out at 23, and was like it was something that I knew I was gay since I say I was 7 or 8 years old. Like when the last time I first remember, like looking back, I'd say like it was from a very, very young age. But obviously growing up quite religious, going to an all boys school, and people are surrounded with that kind of thing. You just think you're like you hate yourself, you think it's awful, like you don't like you just kind of push it back, pretend like your feelings are going to go away, that kind of thing. And try to convince yourself as much as possible that you're not the way that you are, because you fundamentally believe that it's wrong from all that you've heard and all the comments that have been made around you growing up. And then obviously as you get kind of towards the like 15, 16, like after puberty, and like people start like getting in relationships and stuff like that, it obviously brings it more to the forefront. So you have to get even better at covering it up, and get girlfriends or whatever. And going to college, then it's even more of a thing. And so then I think from the very first time I drank, it probably would have been to massive excess, because it's probably the first time where I could, like I'm sure you're aware yourself, just numb the feelings completely, made the thought stop. So that was the only time that I could kind of forget about everything as such. And then yeah, all throughout college, I was still like doing the best I could to keep the feelings down. I always would have been with girls throughout college and stuff, and even after college, during my masters, that was when it's kind of around. I was in America the year before Michelle passed, and it was coming more and more to the forefront. It was getting harder to kind of keep the thoughts and feelings down. And fortunately, like that always will be one of my biggest regrets, is not having come out before Michelle passed, because I never actually told her. But then the year I came out, the year after Michelle passed, it would have been 2021 now. But like there was a lot I probably had in hindsight, because it gave me so much time.
Sorry, just it froze a little bit, James. Sorry, just you said you were in 2021, then you came out, and it just froze a little bit there. The computer, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. So it was 2021, and I was just saying after Michelle passed, obviously COVID happened, and probably gave me a lot of time to think and in my own head. And just obviously after what Michelle went through, just made me realize how short life is and how impermanent everything is, and like in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't actually fucking matter. Like as like the only person I need to be pleasing myself. So I did in the course of that year, kind of did a lot of work on myself, and eventually, just over 3 years ago now, I remember getting a memory on my phone a couple of months ago. First of all, I think I don't know if you, I think I did a video speaking about it. Like I had a few kind of different phases of coming out, so it's like admitting it to myself at the hardest first of all, and like that was kind of in my own head. And I remember like I tried so hard to write the words down, and saying like like I'm gay, but it was so hard to write it down. It took months, and then eventually after this, I was like coming out to my friends then. So one of my best friends, Laura, I texted her, typed out a big long message, like not that she'd give a shite, but typed out a big long message, deleted it, sent it, deleted it, and then sent it again, turned my phone off, and like, literally just awake all night, woke up the night. But then once I sent that text, I was like, there's no going back. I can't hide it anymore. And so I was always trying to convince myself that I'll be grand, I'll be able to get married to a woman and have kids, and feelings will go away. But like that's obviously not how it works. So I told Laura, and then after that, I didn't tell anybody else for another 5 months, I'd say. I hadn't said it out loud at that stage either, so it was just over text. But just knowing that one person knew, there was no going back then, so like that was a big deal. I told one of my other friends then, and then the hardest part for me was probably like the main person that I wanted to tell. And she actually, the year after Michelle passed, she got really sick, and it was kind of life threatening as well. And she got diagnosed with a really rare autoimmune disease, and ended up having a heart attack and stuff. But she came out of hospital then, and we were just a couple of days where like it was the only thing that was on my mind was how am I going to tell her? Like I can't let the other person closest to me like pass away without telling them. But
that's hard.
She kind of just said one day, she was upset. She's like, oh, like I was like nearly ignoring her after she got out of hospital for a couple of days. And she's like, oh, like did I do something to upset her? That, and I kind of just nearly broke down. And it's like I have something to tell you. was just so hard to get the words out. But in fairness, once I told her, she was brilliant. She was just upset that I wasn't able to tell her beforehand. But once I told her, like, that was the biggest weight ever lifted off, because probably inside me for a good 15 years. So it was, as you said, like, it manifests physically massively as well. I do think that probably contributed to the development of the autoimmune disease as well. I'd imagine, like, I'm not usually a man of science, but like a lot of stuff that science can't explain as well. So I'd say there is definitely a relationship there. But once that part was out of the way, I still wasn't fully comfortable. But that was the hardest part by far. But it went a lot better than expected.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm thinking? And thanks so much, James. And I know about science, it's a couple of 100 years old, but if you go back to all of life, human existence, it's like anything that's caught, that to have to hold, and not only hold how you truly feel about somebody, then shame. And shame is one of the lowest energies. Is a beautiful psychiatrist, Dr. David Hawkins, beautiful human being. And he managed to map out the map of consciousness. And one of the lowest energy that sucks us dry, that literally, as you're saying, your immune system, is shame. And to have to carry that and a secret for how you feel, I can't even imagine. So yeah, it would influence on every part of your life. And then, as you said about your mom, it was like, and I'm really sorry that she had to go through what she went through, but that in your head, I can't let another person leave this earth without telling them. Like, Jesus, that is some amount to hold.
Yeah, as I said, the shame is a massive aspect as well, especially going to like an all-boy Catholic school, and obviously having, like, being from rural Ireland, religious upbringing, that kind of thing. Like, the amount of times you'd hear growing up from people close to you in school, and like if you ever did anything wrong or like weird, it would always be a homophobic slur that was thrown out, like, just making you fundamentally believe that being gay was a terrible thing, and that people would hate you if you were. So it's always something you try to avoid.
And tell me, do you see it? And you said an all boys school, Catholic, and I don't even know if there's all boys Catholic schools anymore, but also that.
Christian CBS. So
Yeah. And then rural Ireland. Is there a movement? Can you see a shift in people's mindsets and attitude?
In fairness, like, all the people closest to me, like, I had no bad reactions when I came out. Everybody was, like, extremely surprised, because everyone in their mind has the stereotypical gay in mind that you might see in, like, TV shows and stuff, and I didn't match any of those characteristics as such. So, like, nobody, like, even when I was like about trying to tell my mom I couldn't get the words out, and she was like, "Did you get a girl pregnant?" I was like, "No, I wish." Then, like, her second guess, God help her, was, "Do you have cancer?" Obviously, after she was just terrified that I was sick. But even, like, when I was telling other people, like, they were just as shocked, like, anyone else close to. In terms of seeing a shift, I'd like to say, yeah. I think obviously it definitely has improved over the last 10, 20 years, in terms of people's reactions. But there's also, even just yesterday, seeing, like, Wicklow Pride was cancelled because of threats against gay people from the local community. And even the Phoenix Park last week, 3 gay men were chased with knives. So it's like, it's improved, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And even, like, I never planned on sharing stuff about sexuality on my TikTok. It was all work related. And then somebody asked a question about, like, how to improve gym anxiety as a gay man or something. So I answered that question, and I got a massive response. But, like, there was loads of comments accusing me of, like, gay baiting and stuff because they thought I was straight. So then after I said that, like, I was like, there's a massive need for a voice in that area.
Yeah.
But, like, just the amount of messages I got, there was a lot of positive, but the amount of messages I got from men who are closeted in their 20s and 30s in Ireland, rural Ireland in particular, saying that they have girlfriends and they play football and nobody can ever know because it will ruin their life. And, like, it's so common. And loads of people with girlfriends in their, like, mid-20s, mid-30s that just feel like they have no other option. And I've heard people in the past say that it's selfish to do that, but, like, they feel like that's their only option as well. So
they're terrified. They're terrified.
So I think there is a massive need for, like, I didn't know one gay person until I think I knew one gay person who went to college, and knew no gay people from my hometown. And till I was maybe like into my 20s, I didn't know about, like, there's no representation whatsoever, especially in the industry that I'm in, sport and stuff too. So I think not having a visible representation makes it tough too.
And I'm thinking, like you said, so many people that can't and won't, you know, regardless of what any of us feel, they cannot say how they truly feel about somebody else. And like and I've obviously, as a therapist, I've worked with thousands, and we're all different. Like, once we get to earth, suffering is part of the experience, and that's, nobody's getting out of here without suffering. And I've worked with a lot of people who just like that can't and won't, and one of the reasons they're coming to therapy is because it's having such an impact on their mental health, on their physical health, on their relationships. It's really you know, in a way, it's destroying them inside, but they keep the face on outside. But like you're saying, James, it's they can't at this moment in time. They're not able to say, look, this is, do you know what, I have a little candle going here, right? So much for the good vibes and the candle. The oil ran out, and I can hear it cracking in the back. So yeah, it's I just think of what people, and you know from living it, and they will go to the drink, and they will go to the drugs, and they will go to the sex, and they will go to whatever it is to numb what you're really feeling, and that's really, really, it's really sad and really tragic.
Yeah, I think it's, as you said, like, it's just such a deep-rooted sense of shame. Deep-rooted sense of shame. I actually seen someone share a thing. I don't know how accurate it is, but I think it's a study saying that people who are LGBT are 8 times more likely to commit suicide. And the average age is 15 years old, I think. It's from what I saw on that particular study. So obviously, like, it does affect your mental health massively. And that's something I struggle with massively as well. As, like, to be honest, if I didn't come out when I did, I don't think I probably wouldn't be here now. So it probably is something that's, like, life saving as well. Like, it's very hard to live your life.
And it's very strong what you've said.
Yeah.
It's very strong what you've said, and you're owned in that as well, like that, saying that I don't know if I'd be here if I hadn't have come out, because there's only so much our psyche and ourselves can take, and then an explosion or an implosion is coming. And like you're saying, that there was a part of you knew that if I don't, I don't know where I'll be. And do you know, as we're chatting and all now, as you say, you I don't, it was and it wasn't your intention to bring it into TikTok, but I always think life decides anyway. It decides,
Yeah.
right, it's coming in, and now
Yeah.
now, you know, the conversations, and it's a bit like I was saying earlier, I do believe we can send forward, you know, to obviously this generation, but the generations ahead, that that's a lot of this stuff that we've had beliefs and passionate and it's destroying people's lives in all the different arenas. So now that it's, you know, the fullness of you bring into TikTok, how are you, and I'm only using TikTok because that's where I watch you all the time, but how does that feel? What's that like for you?
Yeah, to be honest, it was like almost like a little bit anxiety inducing. Like, I never planned to share so much about my personal life on it, but I think just when I saw how many other people were suffering with things that I've gone through myself, I was like, felt like it was something that I kind of had to do, is just share more of my own personal experience and show other people that other people are going through similar things. Like, if you're going through something, chances are somebody has been there and lived it and been through it themselves and gotten through it. So just kind of sharing, like, not even giving advice and stuff. So, like, I'm also not a psychologist or anything, but just, I think, personal experience is so important. And as I say, like, I'd be a man of science and stuff when it comes to injuries and rehab and stuff. And, like, when you're doing your degree, you're taught anecdotal evidence is the lowest form of evidence. But I think anecdotal experience and personal experience is so important to share with other people to help with connection and stuff too. And even if it's not the most scientifically accurate, I think it is important for other people to see that out there and realize that they're going through things alone.
And there is loads of research, having been around the world of mental health and suicide in all arenas, that says our story sharing is actually more powerful, and how it actually gives people that, oh, thank God I'm not on my own, for whatever the situation may be. And also what I love, because I get the bit about science and all, and I've been around lots of all people. We talk about science and research, and it's valuable. It has a place, and people's hearts are far more stronger. But we know the unknown is way bigger than the known, and we tend to lean into, well, life says, or it's actually the unknown has even more messages for us, that mystery of life, and there's so much to tap into there. But like you're saying, by you, it wasn't your intention, but it was life's intention that you would bring that part. And I mean, I have to say, anybody listening, I like, and through your TikTok, which is really lovely. You could be doing your wardrobe to Santorini one video, and then we're talking about something really sad, but it's really, that's what's lovely about it, you know what I mean? I really liked one of your shirts in Santorini, the blue one. Yeah, just need to put that out there. I thought it was lovely. I must tell James. But also then, I mean, and a couple of other, just if it's all right to add to it. I thought what was lovely. Amy, my daughter, was last week, Ma'am, you have to watch Inside Out 2. And I haven't got to it yet. I haven't got to it. But I just love, and we go back to generational, and if we want to, if it takes a number of generations to break certain cycles, even around abuse, around lots of different things to break cycles, and that sort of shame and trauma that. Now we also bring the really good stuff through generations as well. But she was saying to me, it was really lovely that they really honed into on Inside Out #2, because you spoke about it. And one of the things we don't have any control over our emotions, and we keep trying to have control over them, but we do then have freedom, and we have control over what we do with them. So people get really angry with themselves around, I shouldn't have that emotion. Well, you're fucking having it anyway. It's an energy, it's an emotion. So don't pick on yourself. And it's about, okay, now this emotion, if the emotion of anger comes up, the emotion of rage, or the emotion of whatever, it's what we then do with the emotion. But she was saying to me that she thought the Inside Out, that we're getting young kids at a young age to realize about emotions. And then I seen your TikTok that you had up. You'd obviously watched the movie, had you?
I had indeed, yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it, to be fair. Really good.
And can you see how it's shifting around people having a different relationship with their emotions so that they're not consumed?
Yeah, 100%. And I think it honed in a lot on anxiety, because obviously anxiety levels are so prevalent at the minute. But
Cute.
one thing I liked about it, and I related it to kind of like what you see online, is how people try to like pick their like bad emotions and bad memories and just like push them all to one side, whereas then like the constant pursuit of like happiness in social media, and like seeing other people looking like they're happy 24/7. Whereas I think like happiness, like everything else, is just an emotion that's fleeting. Like it's not a state that you're in all the time. Like I probably have at least one day a week where I feel like absolute shite and don't want to do anything, but then just sit with it and remind myself that it's impermanent like everything else, and
It moves.
it just is like.
And I think what you said, because in one of the videos you said this, the whole fakeness of social media, and like, again, working as a therapist, I would work with a lot of people that are absolutely, and one of the big, it's one of the big addictions now is scrolling, and it's that sort of what you digest, so it's going in all the time. And a bit like what you're saying there, that with social media, and it's not, I can see really great things. We're doing this will travel and go to where it's meant to go. But there's this picture perfect, and the word happiness, I find it fascinating. I think it's just a marketing. It's just like people come to me and say, I want to be happy. And it's like, it's like a Vogue. Let's put this up on a Vogue magazine and all. We're looking for more peace with our thoughts and just more contentment. The happiness that, moments of joy, as you said, it's impermanent. Every emotion comes and goes. And if we can just keep remembering there's a time for everything, there's a time for being happy, there's a time for being sad, and they'll move through. Social media is, and it's not, as I say, I can see the value, and we're getting to people we couldn't before get to. But it's absolutely, people's anxieties is heightened so much around. And here's the crazy thing. Everybody knows when it's bullshit. We know when, like, you see someone and you go, they look beautiful in that moment. but you also know they're struggling in their life. So what's your take on it?
Yeah, as we were talking about happiness there as well, I was like, I hear so much in person as well, like people being like, oh, I'll be happy when I lose weight, or I'll be happy when I move to Australia and it's sunny, or I'll be happy when, and it's like happiness is not like a location, it's not a particular body fat percentage. Like once you get to that body fat percentage, what then? Like your thoughts are still gonna be there with you, like you're still the same person that you were. So I think just being able to cognitively praise yourself and being able to just sit with your thoughts and be happy with your thoughts and who you are as a person, I think more so I prefer like the word contentment over happiness. Again, like that's amplified so much by social media as well. I think people who could be absolutely miserable putting up beach selfies in Australia, yes, they could be like self-harming at the same time, but like you don't see that side of things. So I think some of the people that nearly post the most like glamorous stuff could be people that are struggling the most as well. Like you never know what's going on in the background. So try not to compare yourself to people online as much as possible. Like, you know, in terms of like the fitness industry, some of the times where I've been at my lowest is when I've been at my leanest. So there's just no correlation whatsoever. And same like the amount of bodybuilders that struggle with body dysmorphia, despite them being in objectively the best shape. So there's not exactly one best body type or location or stuff to find happiness.
And I love what you're saying, because it's a farm my buddy Lindsay was on, and she would be of the same ilk as yourself, who's a personal trainer, and her thing is like, you know, even around women and taking on board their period, or, you know, menstruation and how everything, and like you're saying, it's, and particularly around weight, it's off the Richter scale, and you see one sort of Snapchat or one picture of a person, and as you said there, James, at your leanness at times, you were probably struggling the most. So I think it's about, it's okay to be lean, but you can be struggling at the same time. Getting to lean isn't going to necessarily say, right, I will be happy when I get there. And I think also people are getting tired of the superficial. Now, it's how do you move away, or how do you pull out, because there's the fear of not being included, there's fear of being excluded. It's all this human stuff that we've got to manage and navigate. But there is also a realization that the social media, and we know, and people know, this isn't the truth, and they're looking for a way, because they still like their social media, but they're looking for a way for it to be less surface and a little bit of depth. And I do think social media allows for conversations like this and that. Now, the other side is the extension span. If you're lucky, what would you get? 5 or 6 seconds, maybe 10 seconds at the moment.
Yeah, and TikTok has ruined everyone's attention spans.
I know, if I'm looking for a menu, I go there.
Yeah, I think they're trying to move a little bit more towards longer form now. But yeah, not like the attention spans now are terrible.
But it's like, even as you said, around the weight and all, and I know how we do. I know it's nearly an hour. I don't know. Does it feel like an hour to you?
Oh, it's flown by.
Good. I'm delighted. How are you finding the conversation, and what has it been like, the pace, and like just moving in and out? Like, we created the space and we just let the conversation do its thing. How have you found that?
You know, I'm finding it great. Yeah, it's
I'm
flowing
delighted.
nicely, I think.
Delighted. And I know I won't say we get to what we're meant to get to.
Yeah,
And I, if it's okay, I'd like to read this piece, and thank you. I'm going to listen to the fuller video of Michelle,
yeah.
if that's all right. And I was very, very struck. This piece that was on Instagram, it says, and this Michelle was making these videos. She had been diagnosed, and she knew not the amount of time, but that she was limited. Her physical time on earth was limited when she done this.
So she made them. So initially, when she was diagnosed, she was in like ICU and everything. They didn't think she'd survive that, but then she got out, she got treatment and all that. And then again, that Christmas, so it's like maybe 6 or 7 months on, she was told she won't make Christmas. So it was a couple of weeks before Christmas, she made the first Christmas, she made these videos. She didn't think she had too long left. So she made them thinking that there wasn't a lot of time left, but she lived over a year after that. She made the videos in the end.
So this is the piece, and as I say, I'm to go onto Facebook and to listen to the full. So it says, Thanks for being you. Go and do what makes you feel happy. Go and travel. Go and do everything. Live life to the full. Live every second you can, and don't miss out on any opportunities that come your way. The world is your oyster, and just follow your heart. No, you will all get there. No, you will get there. You're so clever. I love you. Have the best life, Michelle. Wow.
Yeah, it feels weird hearing the words in somebody else's voice because I've only ever listened to the video in her voice.
She's some sister you have.
Yeah, indeed. But no, that was actually the clip from the video that she left for me personally. But then, yeah, obviously there's the longer form one of her own story then on Facebook and Instagram as well. Yeah, the words always strike a chord.
Yeah, and just how much she loves you. And can I ask you something just as we finish up?
Yeah.
Michelle. Oh, there we go. Like John, they're not. Oh, there you go again, yeah. It's back again.
I can hear you again. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We don't mind that it clicks and things. We don't want it all perfect anyway.
No, it's natural.
So, with Michelle is physically not on this earth, but her essence, her, all of what she's left behind. How would you describe your relationship with your sister now?
It's a tricky one to answer.
And you don't have to. I'm just asking. You don't feel any pressure.
When you say my relationship with her now, what exactly do you mean?
Yeah. What do you draw from her? What has she left you behind that you can link into, or on those days? What is it about her qualities, her essence? And I mean, it's like we're all made of energy, so we don't stop or start, but we change physical form.
Yeah.
So what would it be, the relationship now that you have with her, that you'd lean into more?
She left so much behind in terms of like the amount I gained from her, and particularly in the 2 years she went through the pain and suffering that she did. Like she was going through like such insane levels of pain and suffering every day, and knowing that like realistically she tried to live as long as possible, but she knew that she wasn't going to be there for her kids. And like imagine thinking that, like looking at your 2-year-old and your 9-year-old, knowing that you're not going to be there for them when they grow up, but like you never hear her complain, or she never talked about how much pain she was in. She always just powered through, and I think it's just the resilience that she showed, the courage that she showed in the face of adversity, that will always stick with me. And even it's times where like if I'm sick or like struggling or have a flare up or that, and I just think about what she went through and how she managed it, and I just gain a lot of strength from that, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like she's left a lifetime of what you can tap into, just even what you've said there. Yeah, which is powerful and also devastating. She's not here, but also that you do have that relationship with her.
Yeah, no,
Thank
100%.
you. Thank you.
No problem at all, Karen.
Tell me this, because we're just about to finish up. I have really, really enjoyed our conversation. I have learned so much. I feel of just even hanging out with you, James, and just chatting and just all the different nuggets, and lots of food for thought for me. So thank you very, very much to your sister Michelle, because she's very much with us, and her words and what she's left behind for you and your family and her children. So I'm sending lots of love to every one of you, and I'm so grateful, so grateful. So I will be keeping, I want to keep following you now and tormenting you, you know that, don't you?
Better.
I promise you. Is there anything you need? Are you happy enough for us to finish up, or is there anything specifically around resources or anything that because people will, I will put in the descriptor, we put in particularly around mental health and people coming out in grief, so we can put some of the links and resources that people can tap into. So I've no bother. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that? Are you okay?
Yeah, just in terms of resources, there's like obviously great charities and stuff that do work for like your the mental health month, and then the LGBT as well. I think Shout Out and Aware are possibly two of them.
Brilliant.
I did a charity event a couple of weeks ago, and they were the two charities that we're fundraising for. So And then, yeah, if anybody wants to watch the video that Michelle left, that's on Michelle's message on Facebook, Facebook page. And if anyone wants to contact me, then my Instagram probably the best place, or TikTok, and just James Green HPA.
Brilliant, thank you. So we'll finish up, and I am looking forward to the conversations continuing down the road. I have a feeling this isn't the last one, and thank you so much today for being up to having the conversation and letting it go wherever it was meant to go. Really appreciate it.
Caroline, I really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for having me on.
Not a bad.